Hey, back with you again. Now, before I get started, there's gonna be profanity in this video. You see the warning box, this warning in the description box, and I already gave the warning before. So, those who are new to me, excuse me, I burped. You already, you've already been warned, and those who are subbed, I don't even need to tell you. Well, those of you who've been living under a rock, you're wondering who in the world is this dude with the lazy eye? Oh yeah, that would be Joe Biden. And now I know like people wondering why are you being so snarky? Why you got attack him because he has a lazy eye and stuff like that. Well, I'm not too happy with this piece of work, and I take it you must have saw my title of the video. All I can say is that I have nothing to be happy about this piece of work. Especially now, he just confirmed that he's going to be running for the 2020 elections. So to those who have no clue about this piece of work, I will talk about it because I know mainstream media they tried their best to bury this story, and I hope many other YouTubers out there will talk about this because folks need to start asking him questions, especially considering what he's contributed to and what he's done. Especially, he wrote a very particular bill, and looks like his past has come to haunt him. And keep on asking him that question because I would like to know what he has to say and what's his little malarkey explanation is going to be. So let's get started. What this little thing has come back to bite him be. Biden's 1993 remarks about crime bill sound pretty racist. So former Vice President Joe Biden is most likely going to run in 2020. He's laying down the groundwork, and Democrats are either unenthused at thinking that his time is done, or he's a relic of the past, or impatient. Some viewing him as stabilizing force in a field that's far left, unknown, and rapidly becoming a clown car. So here's a little quote from I think the New York Times, via New York Times, says that the pieces of Joe Biden Jr. presidential are falling into place. His nucleus of advisors has begun offering a campaign position to the seasoned Democratic strategists that they are seeing in headquarters in Delaware or nearby Philadelphia, and to launch a date in the beginning of April. Mr. Biden's family is on board, his wife Jill enthusiastically so. So Mr. Biden has been privately reaching out a range of influential Democrats, including party donors, some members of Congress, and allies in the early primary states to gauge their support. A pillar of organized labor, the International Association of Firefighters, is prepared to support him in the Democratic primary. But in recent weeks, Mr. Biden's strategist Steve Ricchetti has called a handful of his would-be candidates and their aides to signal that former vice presidents most likely to enter the race of late has been telling Democrats that he's 95% committed to running, according to the officials directly familiar with the discussions, which now he confirmed that he had a little slip, quote unquote, slip in the tongue to confirm that he's running. So, Mr. Biden's decision looms perhaps the most significant unanswered question of the 2020 contest, and his entry could bring the shape to what has been a diffuse Democratic primary, providing voters with a clear front runner. Like as a candidate, Mr. Biden would present Democrats with a clear alternative to the hard-charging liberals who now dominate the race and test the appeal of his old school political profile at a moment the party is hungry for fresh faces, but even hungrier to win. So, in quote, he says, I believe he's going to win, said Representative Cedric Richmond of Louisiana, who talked to Mr. Biden on the phone earlier this week. In quote, there may there still they okay there may be they may still be some doubt in his mind, but there's no doubt in my mind. Sorry, I had a long day. So Biden could do well with white working class voters. He has name recognition, and those two things are key given to the that most of the field is relatively unknown. Could it clear the field? Probably not. And Senator Bernie Sanders has done well with white working class voters, but this is a primary contest. Black voters are a huge Democratic constituency. Mr. Sanders has more or less, well, he's been more, actually, more been a disaster on his front, representing the state that's been whiter than rice for most of his career. So where does that leave Biden? It's hard to say anything definitive since both of his previous presidential bids ended early without much support. So he was ever a dominant figure. So with his incoming third bite at the apple, he could be facing issues with this 1993 speech that about the crime bill. And mind you, yeah, and he wrote the crime bill. Just thought I'd let you know, which will definitely come off as racist as growing legions of progressives that dot the base. CNN's Andrew Kaczynski found this gem where then Senator Biden warned about criminals on our streets that were, in quote, beyond the pale when speaking about Bill Clinton's crime bill. Well, even though people think like Bill Clinton's the one who found the bill, no, Bill Clinton signed the bill, but the one who wrote the bill in the first place and introduced it, that was Joe Biden. Yeah. President Obama's right hand man, who is the reason why the mass incarceration prison kicked in and the three strikes law. Yeah. So those of you who have no clue about the crime bill, I suggest you do your research. Continuing. And this is what it said. Joe Biden in 1993 speech warned of predators on our streets who were quote unquote predators on our streets, unquote, who were, unquote, beyond the pale and said that they must be cordon, cordoned off of the rest of society because the justice system did not know how to rehabilitate them. Biden, the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, made the comments on the Senate floor floor a day before the vote was scheduled on the Senate's version on the Violent Crime Control Act and the Law Enforcement Act, aka the crime bill. So his central role in shaping the shepherding and the tough crime bill will likely face scrutiny in a Democratic primary that he should run for president in 2020. His 1993 comments, which were in line with the broad political consensus to tackling crime at the time, are at odds with a new bipartisan coalition of activists and lawmakers who were trying to undo what they say is a legacy of mass incarceration fostered by that era. Biden's word choice would pose a problem with a new generation of Democrats who view the rhetoric at the time as perpetuating harmful myths, well, harmful and dangerous anti-black propaganda and myths about the black community. So I like to add that little extra because it was very dangerous. And not yeah, but also it was dangerous. They were beyond the pale for those people beyond the pale. So Biden continued, and it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. In the speech, Biden described a Kadir, in quote, Kadir of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without structure, without any conscious developing because they literally have not been socialized, and they literally have not had an opportunity. So he stereotyped the entire fucking he stereotyped of the black community. So yeah, and he said we should focus on them now because if we don't, they will, or a portion of them will become predators. The predators 15 years from now. So he called black people predators. Yeah. So Biden added that he didn't care why someone is a malefactor in society. That criminals need to be away from my mother, your husband, and our families. So he knows why the black community is in the state it's in, but nah, he just wants to make them suffer. Pure evil, Biden. Hillary Clinton called them super predators, though she did nab 88% of black voters during 2016 election, but still were in a different era, regrettably. Identity politics reigns supreme on the left. Everything and anything is racist, and I mean, well, it's not. Well, guess what? A lot of stuff that's been done is racist. Sorry, dude. I'm not sorry. And they're retroactively applying this nutty standard to Standard to everything. What he said was fucking racist, dude. But let me continue. But Joe may jump in, but it doesn't mitigate the chance that the 2020 Democratic primaries could be full blown and a bloody war that batters the party. Meanwhile, Trump can smile, laugh, and count the massive war chest he will have at his disposal to unleash an assault upon the left. Yep, you saw that. We know that Bill Clinton signed the bill, but Joe Biden, I guess I accidentally clicked off the picture. He's the one responsible. He's the one responsible for this bill. This is the guy who sponsored, named Jack Brooks. But Jack Brooks, who is no different. Yeah. And then, of course, and there's also someone who voted for the bill and who's also running for president. And, and it's not going well for him, especially since he showed he's a bit of a hypocrite when it came to talk about reparations. Bernie Sanders. It's funny. He said he's for reparations for the Jewish community, but when it comes to black people, he says no. And yet, you see, like the oxymoron. And plus, he supported a bill called the Holocaust Rail Justice Act, which was sponsored by Chuck Schumer. Amy Schumer's brother. You can go and read about that. So if you want more information. But but Bernie Sanders, that's very hypocritical of you to say the Jewish community can get reparations, but black people who have been treated like less than property can't. Hypocrisy much. That's why he's not doing too well. And then, of course, Bill Clinton signed it, and Joe Biden, he's the founder and the father of it all, of that crime bill, the 3 strikes law, and everything horrible that has affected the black community. So I hope people will bring this up and ask him deep questions. And also, he even made a speech, which I'll post a link to the video. You can watch him making that horrible speech. So it's very repulsive what he said. And I'd like to see what his little malarkey explanation is going to be. And I hope many other YouTubers will make a video talking about this. Because he does not, he shouldn't even get our vote at all, and he shouldn't even be in a position of power considering what he has done. So folks, you better start asking your questions, and you better start researching these politicians, because you thought Kamala Harris was bad? Well, I mean, he's just as bad. He's just as bad and just as worse as Kamala. That's my 2 cents. I'm out.